Hello. Clink, clink, clink. Is this thing on? Testing, testing. Howdy. My name is Raymond Arturo Perez, coming to you live from South LA. So if you hear sirens, if you hear salsa music, if you hear roosters, yes, I'm at home. This is another very late installment, day 12 of this nightly thing I've been not doing consecutively, where I go live and talk about my journey as a writer-director in Los Angeles, California. Today, we're going to talk about why aren't there more Latinx shows or films, which is actually a very simple question. The people who greenlight stories goes all the way to the top, and most of those people are still straight white men. So we could just end it here, but we're not. Because then that kind of discounts all the executives of color, all the queer folks, all the folks that aren't what I just said, who are working and functioning within the system, trying to do their best. I will say, directly as a result of our president and his administration, the reaction to him being elected by our population has affected the kinds of stories that get pushed and championed, knowing that the people all the way at the top are trying to satisfy the administration. It's all business, it's all capitalism, it sucks. I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, I'm trying to be Raymond Arturo Perez, which is real and honest. Fair and balanced. JK. No, but what I do mean to say is I feel like there's been phases since I moved out here, and I'll try to give like the Cliff's Notes. I moved out here, Latino was not a thing. Latino was some kind of slow, like in the community, a bit of a derogatory word referring to US-based Latinos who were either born here or second, third, beyond generation. That's just the reality. I think it was my generation and beyond, for better and for worse, who said, okay, one, we love diversity, inclusion, specificity, because we know there is so much to celebrate within each bit of nuance and specificity and the journeys that we all go through that are not at all the same. However, in the system, we understand that if we go in there and we say we are a second generation Mexican American from Dallas, Texas, and we go to the exec and we say, so my story matters, they're going to go, okay, where's the data? At some point, the community said, this is the word, let's fall under it, Latinx, Latin, Latina, Latino, Latina, etc. Because there's a power in us uniting as a community, whether it's capitalism, whether it's actually building community and coming together and sharing our stories as different as they are. Because at the end of the day, my generation and beyond, and now I think everyone out here in general, knows that we do have a power together, and we do understand that specificity and nuance is what makes us all beautiful, because we are not all the same. Who's included in that has been a journey and a conversation and a lot of discussion, which I love. Issues of colorism, all these things that have come at play. But I think I love that a word exists because we do see that community has been built. I am invigorated when other folks from other nations, generations, whether it's mine, whether it's second generation, third, fourth, fifth generation, whether it's immigrants, whether it's citizens, whether it's undocumented folks, etc. When they make it, I go, this is awesome. Because you're actually, by telling your story, or by telling how different you are from the last story, people get to see just how much we cover that isn't just politics or news. And so, trying to get to the point, I moved out here, and I feel like the conversation we were still having, which happens every once in a while, is the talent isn't here, so we got to go get like a white writer to write our stories, or we got to get a white passing person to play this intended brown story, or someone not even of the community. And I feel like actors had their time to shine, and then people behind the camera had their time to shine to be like, no, we're actually here. No one's reading our scripts, but they're actually really great. And in the last 13 years, people have really championed folks in front and behind the camera. That's still amounted to so little. There's many loopholes. We can talk all about that in subsequent lives, But I think that was the first one. The talent doesn't exist. I think time and time again we've shown that it does. And then the second thing are pitfalls. I kind of alluded to this last time, which is like there's a pitfall between being an assistant, for speaking just for writers, an assistant, and then being a staff writer, and then that ladder. Then there's blocks within the writing ladder in television where it's like you're a staff writer, and then the mid section, and then the beginning of producing, all the way up to executive producer. And all of those pitfalls are places where, historically speaking, Black and brown folks, people of color, folks of underrepresented and marginalized communities have gotten stuck. The data's there. I'm not blowing smoke out of anyone's butt. Does this happen to white folks as well? Yes, it does. It also happens to straight white folks as well. Does it happen as much as communities that are marginalized and underrepresented? No. And I know because I've seen folks get stuck in assistantship for 10 years before they become a staff writer. I've seen mentors of mine have to repeat staff writer 3 times before they move up the ladder. People then end up taking jobs that are underpaid, that just don't make sense because they don't believe, based on proof, data, experience around them, that a better opportunity will come. And so that happened. Then it was like, okay, we see the talent in front of the screen, we see talent behind the screen, and I feel like there was a next phase. And that next phase was, we need folks in the executive chain, in their ladder. So you have your main, then you have like senior executives, then you have junior executives, then you have assistants. And the same thing I just described for writers happens for all executives. Women, people of color, Black folks, Latin folks will get stuck in certain areas, and there's only so many studios, there's only so many networks, there's only so many production companies for them to ever wiggle around and move up, that oftentimes, especially like before the pandemic, in order to move up required you to leave the company you're at and either go to a similar position at another company or get the promotion you've been overdue for at another company. Problem is, no one's retiring, which is plus or minus, right? And so there's no potential advancement within the system, that you'd either have to go independent or like concurrently be doing things, and so that's where we're at, I feel like. We know that there's talent in front of the camera. We know there's talent behind the camera. We know there's talent in the executives, ladder. And now it's like, okay, we even see those incremental, increases. It's awesome to see someone of a marginalized or underrepresented community go up the ladder, because data shows when they do, whether they understand the story or just recognize the power and talent of a story that they can't necessarily understand completely, folks from marginalized and underrepresented communities are more than likely to champion folks not just in their community, but others as well, more so than the hegemony, than what's been in power for the longest time. So, the long-winded version of why aren't there Latinx shows or films is because at the end of the day, as I've seen, as many of my mentors have seen who have sold upwards of 7 to 12 shows to production companies, to studios and networks, they'll now get that green light because they have someone in the executive ladder who is like, I'll use my slate to champion you and take you up to the top. And then you just have like purgatory. You have a waiting room of bought scripts that are now not available to sell elsewhere in a studio or network or whatever the situation is, that don't go forward because at the end of the day, the person who's still deciding yay or nay is the same person that's been, or of the same community that's been in power, and is like, cute, but we're not going to move forward. That's like chapter 1. Chapter 2 is, say it doesn't get greenlit, we've seen that they most likely aren't going to get a season 2. There's no marketing money behind it. Maybe the story wasn't, where it needed to be. Casting issues. There's so many pitfalls that we can go in as creatives in general. So when you get 100 times to try something, cool beans, and those 100 different people, etc., etc. But when you're a marginalized community, you only get 3 shots. The telescope or the microscope is enlarged, and those errors become a burden of representation. Meaning that if only 3 Latinx shows make it up to the big screen or to the TV screen, and they all fail, then it's like, well, clearly no one wants to watch Latinx shows. Clearly no one wants to see a pan-Latino, not specific version of real life on a network show, because now it's not applicable to anybody. So on and so forth. And then lastly, the last thing I'm going to hit on, which is that what is even, as we mentioned, what is even Latinx? What is even Latin, Latino, Latina, Latine? It's a made-up word. And who gets to be the poster person of that word? Is it just gentified? Is it just vida? Is it just etc., etc.? But as mentors and colleagues and I have all chatted, all with great discussion, it's like yes and, right? It is that. But is it also not shows with predominantly black casts where sometimes half of the cast is also Latino because they are black and Latino, where a show like Pose that sets up a predominantly queer black cast is also Latin, it's Latinx, it's Latino, it's Latina. So it gets tricky because then it's like, and I say tricky for lack of a better word, is like there's a lot of Latinx shows, but when we have these conversations, why are we already discounting some of the other ones? Why is sometimes that conversation only on the basis of identity and shows that talk about identity and not shows that are, like if there's a genre show or genre film and it is not talking about identity but features a Latina, Latino, a Latinx person, that too is a Latinx film or TV show. But sometimes marketing, sometimes the community, sometimes XYZ won't recognize it as such, and it's like, oh, okay, so that one doesn't count for whatever reason. And of course that falls in line with everything else, which is like issues of colorism, racism, da 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 da. But in a nutshell, I'd say that's why we don't see Latinx shows or films. And I think, I know that the mandate of, we want to see a very specific, it's why we got such specific shows, like right before, I'd say like before 2021 maybe, we got like, for the first time, like, not for the first time, but a good amount of shows that were super specific, that championed a point of view that maybe we don't see very often. Once the person was elected that is elected right now, the mandate has been, we're really interested in Middle America, which is coded language. It just sucks. No one's interested. On that note, I think my response is there have been moments like this in film and television where the studio system was not able to facilitate the journeys of many careers of many artists, and we saw the boom that is happened over the course of time in independent film, and so my response has been like, okay, it's my time to shine as a filmmaker, as a writer director, as an independent artist, and I think we're going to see really, really beautiful stuff because I've seen the work that my colleagues are doing, my friends are doing, people that I love and respect who have worked many more years in the industry than I have, and it is super dope. I'm excited for y'all to see my short film White Space, my directorial short film debut outside of academia, will premiere sometime in 2027. I'll have updates for those who donated to my film pretty soon with a little bit more specificity. I'm also excited for the folks to see Training Wheels, which is a short film I wrote through the Film Independent Project Involve Fellowship. That will premiere next year as well. Then thirdly, I'm working on a short film as a producer. That short film is called Where We Will Be Tomorrow, and it is written and directed by Amro Helmi. If you want more information on that, you can go to my bio and see a link that gives you all the info on that film. I'm very excited. We are fiscally sponsored. If you have monies that you don't want to go to your taxes to pay for things that maybe we shouldn't be paying for, and instead want to invest in the arts, I highly suggest you consider donating to that film. It is a tax write-off, so you can ensure that instead of sending your money to maybe outside this nation, you can keep it here and invest in artists that are wanting to make change, affect change, tell great stories, tell entertaining stories, and hopefully enrich the world with empathy. On that note, listening to is it Eddie Santiago? That seems wrong. Qué locura enamorarme de ti. Well, anyway, okay, bye.